and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Well, how many times we're going to repeat ourselves like a broken record? How many times we're going to keep on saying the same thing? The Democrats' policy, especially with this reconciliation bill, was a complete failure. And to all the cul-de-sac progressives, the vote blue no matter who, the corporate media, all the people with the coveted blue check marks, they all were saying from the rooftops, especially during the 2020 election cycle, that Biden was going to return the soul back to the country, that Biden was somehow going to fix things, and that the Democrats were able to do things, and that the progressives will hold Biden's feet to the fire. But let's be real here. This big bill that's been gutted, the compromise that's now been compromised and compromised again, we cannot deny the fact that the progressives, especially in the United States Senate and House, people like Bernie Sanders and AOC, basically squandered any kind of political opportunity they really could have done to really hold Biden's feet to the fire. And they didn't. They chose not to. They kept on praising Biden, calling him a good friend, saying that he exceeds all expectations. But one person was right. That's right, he's from Chicago. I want to just pull up this tweet from Jimmy Dore. And it's undeniable that, again, I'm going to be repeating the word again, it's undeniable for the fact that, again, Jimmy Dore was correct on everything. From forced to vote to everything else, the hypocrisy of the Democrats will definitely come to haunt them during the midterm election cycle. And I want to read this tweet right here. Jimmy Dore, undeniable fact. Cenk is a sheepdog who is always going to gaslight you into voting for these same Democrats Democrats while shitting on any alternative and any real activists. Hashtag free Assange. Also, let's pull up Cenk Uger's tweet real quick because, again, let's face it, the Democrats and the people who carry water for the Democrats need to wake up to the fact that if they don't really bring any kind of change, why should anyone vote blue? Let's be real here. When you fail to deliver, when you fail to do anything, that doesn't inspire voters. And to all those people who were browbeaten during the 2020 election cycle by saying, you got to vote Biden, don't vote third party, what are we getting from the Democrats? Nothing. So here's Cenk Uger's tweet right here. Undeniable fact. Manchin and Bernie Sanders are both senators, but Manchin getting everything he wants and Bernie is getting almost nothing. Why? Because Manchin is willing to kill the bill and Bernie isn't. Progressives will have no power until they're willing to kill bills. So let's stop right here and let's really address the fact, why Jimmy Dore was on point since day one of the Biden-Harris administration. The progressives do, in theory, have the political power and the followers and the supporters to really cause a ruckus. But they're choosing not to because they were given their marching orders. Take, for example, was the force to vote for Medicare for all. There were 15 congressmen and women who were on the force to vote petition, and they chose not to participate, and they kept talking down about that town hall that was hosted by Jimmy Dore, Breonna Joy Gray, Justin Jackson, and so many other heroic individuals. Then when it came down to force to vote for 15, that was Cenk Uger's thing, Senator Sinema and Manchin just thumbs it right down. And when it came down to every single other progressive policy, the progressives failed to follow through. They were afraid. They were given marching orders. And let's also, again, look at another example too. When we look at the progressives right now, we have to remember they could have been fighting for a very long time. They could have actually raised that ruckus. They could have done something to fight back, but they didn't. So let's pull up this other tweet here. If we can, there's no tweet right there. Let's pull it up. Cue to Curb Your Enthusiasm music. Let's pull up this image from David Sirota about this, the $6 trillion plan. Democrats' eye plan on infrastructure, Medicare for all, immigration. $6 trillion. Senator Joe Manchin calls for up to $4 trillion in infrastructure spending as Democrats are poised to control Congress. Let's go again. Continuing on, now it looks like it's going to be 1.9 to 2.2 trillion. If we scroll again, Biden at Capitol to pitch $1.75 trillion agenda. Keep on lowering and lowering it. So what's in this bill? We got a video from Case Study QB. Again, be sure to follow him on Twitter. Let's pull it up.
What's in and what's out for now?
For now, a big disappointment, actually, about the paid leave part of this. More than 3/4 of Americans have no paid family leave, and that's not about to change. Paid family leave out of Biden's Build Back Better plan. Ditching paid family leave and medical leave is a really big deal. It would have provided new parents with paid time off to care for newborns. It would have helped families cope with illnesses without risking their financial security. It would have helped businesses keep workers from leaving and keep them productive. In the middle of a health crisis and a worker shortage, many economists thought that passing paid leave was a simple morality and intelligence test for Congress. The average paid maternity leave around the world is 29 weeks, but not here. America is one of 8 without national maternity leave and one of just 6 countries without any form of national paid leave. And it's the only wealthy country on that very short list. Still, even without that critical program and that big disappointment for working families, this is still a once-in-a-generation upgrade for working people. Here's what families get. Universal pre-K. The child tax credit is still in, but only for 1 more year. Critical for low-income families to pay for things like diapers and food. There's child and elderly care and the expansion of Medicare. Also, Build Back Better has a historic investment in addressing the climate crisis. That Medicare expansion, though, is not what many had wanted at the outset, which would have been dental, hearing, and eye care for seniors. It's a slimmed-down version of that.
The climate investment turns out to be the single biggest block of money, and more than I think some people thought it would be based on where these negotiations were headed.
That's right, and there are a lot of different components of it that are pretty interesting to watch, including, how to reinvest when you bounce back from, some sort of natural disaster. So there are investments in there that I think that moderate Democrats could be on board with and sell back home in coal country, for example.
Christine Roman, it's great to see you.
Welcome.
Thanks so much.
So, we heard that entire video. What's in the budget? Nothing. The Democrats didn't give us anything. We're not going to get a goddamn thing from the Democrats. And yet, I'm very impressed that, again, on corporate media, they were able to talk about the fact that, America isn't really number one in regard to helping out families or any other kind of issues that we see in other countries. There aren't any social safety nets for the American people. We have none. There's nothing there to provide for us. There's nothing there to help us. And the issue right now that we're seeing is that when we get into the midterm election cycle and we start calling out the hypocrisy of the Democrats and what they really delivered, are we going to get yelled at by the cul-de-sac progressives again? Are we going to get bullied by the cul-de-sac progressives again because we're not voting blue, we're not falling in line? What do we owe the Democrats if they're not going to fight for us? What do we owe the Democrats if they're not even going to stick their necks out for us? You see, the sad issue is that we have nothing. And the people who are supposed to fight for us, especially in the United States Senate and House, our progressive, quote-unquote, allies, the people who are supposed to raise the ruckus, they're not coming for us. They're not going to help us out. That $3.5 trillion that originally was at $6 trillion, or at least according to Pramila Jayapal, was at $7 trillion. They compromised on it again and again, lowering it, gutting it, making it worth nothing. So, going forward, Jimmy Dore was right. Hard Lens Media was right. Every single progressive commentator that was critical of the Biden-Harris administration was correct. And now we see firsthand just how weak the Democrats are. And they knew about this. So what kind of propaganda are they going to use against us in the next election cycle? What kind of fear tactics will they use? Because what? Well, of course, Trump's going to run again in 2024. We know that's going to happen. But what are they going to deliver us? What are they going to give us? We want Medicare for all. We want UBI. We want a Federal Jobs Guarantee Act. We want to do something about climate change. These are policies that are universally popular amongst all voters. But what we're seeing from the Democrats, and again from their cul-de-sac progressive allies, is that no, you have to listen to us, trust the Democratic Party, fall in line, and if you go up against our narrative, if you try and derail anything, we're going to destroy you. We have to look at something better. And if we don't start pushing back, and I just want to pull up, if we can, Faze, for just one last time, I would like to pull up that Jimmy Dore tweet. So it's an undeniable fact. Cenk Uygur is a sheepdog who is always going to gaslight you into voting for these same Democrats while shitting on any alternative and real activists. Hashtag free Assange. Because right now what's happening to whistleblowers and other, again, free thinkers, people who are challenging the establishment, people are being censored and being deplatformed. And we can't have that anymore. Now we got to push back. Now we got to get angry. I'm looking forward to covering the midterm election cycle. But man, I'm very curious to see what the Democrats are going to use, what kind of tactics they're going to use, and what they're going to say. But I am preparing them to say that if you want these things, you got to vote more Democrats in. Well, you have a majority in the House and Senate. How come you can't get things done?